Kind viewers, as a member of the Department of Training and Internationalization, I'm delighted to illustrate this coastal theme derived from the earlier Order of Architects of Napoli experience as a former committee to the Habitat Program in 1996 in human settlements. During the epoch of disaster in June 2022, we strove to gather sufficient reporting, visually and written, determining the scope to serve a forensic reconstruction. Insofar as unconfirmed its degree of greater disaster, we moved forward to the technical bibliography that accompanied us towards the lecture and the assembling of a convenient landscape information. I want now to read the prior questions back to the scope as we compare the contrast different viewpoints. Is there a cultural and economic transfer within this urban region of interest? Is the problem of urban congestion still relevant? If yes, how to identify its entropy in the matter of numeral terms? Do natural changings manifest themselves in areas unrelated to productivity as well? What are the areal impacts of economic changes? And can the land use land cover guarantee an in-depth degree of accomplishment? Which are the factors that concord? Its social exclusion and regional minorities still an issue after a decade of industrial development in Bangladesh, among which infrastructural innovators are we facing now the identity of a national backbone, how to eliminate inequalities, which will be the phenomenon of inherited inequalities for the future, and will they constitute as a structural problem? The establishment of a Japanese alliance, Nippon Koei and Shiode UTEC, and the People's Republic of Bangladesh has led to the inauguration, signing a first national LNG gas network for the country. The lecture has facilitated the comprehension within our case study behind Sitakunda's industrial growth and its difficulties with regard of the social indiscipline and lack of safety and technical culture, an attempt to the establishment by 2003 of a Bangladesh Energy Regulatory Commission. Shipbreaking represents another socio-economical aspect, delimiting the coastal waterfront that introduced us to the recycling economy of this district. Besides these trustable references, we agreed to the fact that this context has to be specified in a manner that is neither so broad by omitting or partially indicating the commercial practices that brought us to this tragic event at the BM container warehouse. So this research covered, among a few, this paper entitled Fire Evacuation Safety in Bangladesh Ready-Made Garment Factories that illustrates the means of escape. In this epoch, the balance was beyond 47 victims and 450 non-fatal injuries with the combustion of textiles and potassium. So, due to the high temperature of June, and as the curtain of smoke was triggered forth, the authorities were hindered by the narrowness of its unique entrance, so that the search and rescue operations became severely limited and trapped, causing improper decisional choices by extinguishing normal water in a D-class scenario. Subsequently, lectures with the object and the anti-corruption focus on Bangladesh appreciated the land use land cover strategy for urban pattern recognition. In first instance, we assessed the interclass spectral separability visually and quantitatively. In second place, we rendered the classified maps using S3 pixel object machine learning supervised recognition, and in third instance by the object-based method of the grouping sample area data. In last instance, again, as the annual surface rates were systematic, we narrowed towards the central core of the framework, whereas we indicated infrastructural change between the last two sensing events. In our repository, we accounted 15 products, early sensed in December due to cloud coverage, peaking between 115 and 117 LULC random points per year, our ground truths, targeting near infrared NIR bands for image classification in large number distributed in the BM terminal. It's based to propose a strategy overview of 6 land use drivers, terminal infrastructure as containers and bigger metal surfaces, other industrial sites, generical purpose regarding residential, vegetation and forest, all yielded by overall linear regression that indicated from the worst to the most successful approximation. This preliminary phase, we immersed ourselves within the spectral separability by collecting data from training polygons and visualizing merged training data of the before mentioned 6 drivers. Digital number of each of the pixel inside the training polygon. Over here we observe peak numbers of mean for the band 6 of the terminal selection as 132 to 138 occurred between 2009 and 2012 with a standard deviation quite low. Kappa coefficient is a statistical technique applied and does not represent a perfect accuracy value, however highly cited and influential parameter in thematic maps. In our case, ranging from the lowest value of 47.59% due to the missing finding of the terminal as false positive, erected to 94.54% by comparing user and producer highway, as we observe, is more visible from the 2011 with missing forest values in the same year. The metal surfaces consisting in small shelters and containers mixed with raw materials were more involved from 2012. 319% ancillary gain in 2010, 148% in 2011 as the most consistent variations. The waterfront included the presence of various old warehouses, then dismantled in favor of scattered offices along the coast. User accuracy varies from 0 to 61.53% between 09 and 12. To mention in 13, under Landsat 8 coverage, we identified the destruction of vegetation lands in favor of dispersed residential presence widespread in the infrastructural coastal surface. In 16, the extension of similar roofs coexisted together with the steel industry as we see below, as well as in the rest are scattered across the territory. From 21 to 22, under the 9 program, we began to witness the widespread of blue covering and red as confirm of the social industrial growth as best accuracy registered for the terminal roof type. Due to monsoon impacts, we observe a reassigning of gray residential settlements along the coast as for 2017. The inland sees the final expansion of the heavy industry in compliance with the energy national backbone. The coast is characterized by temporary settlements that in July 2022 were included the presence of terminal type red covering. The pair represents a wide range of temporal comparisons. We invite the peers to deepen the focus as far as discussed. The paper also includes visual imagery from Google Earth repository used as ground truth for our assessments. In the end, we present the coverage difference between May and July 2022 that are highlighted as follows. Period with the NIR palette. The LULC evaluation brought us together to bottom-up behavioral strategies in regard of residential and ancillary zoning. as well as top-down variation representing an added value for both internal and external consistency evaluation in project planning, particularly useful for life cycle assessment. We want to thank you for this space and attention. Goodbye.